What is going on, you beautiful people of the world today? So Arc Revo has been happening this weekend. They haven't finished all the tournaments yet. By the time I post this, they will have. But I wanted to talk about specifically Guilty Gear because last night, prior to, weirdly enough, they did a bunch of announcements prior to doing the BlazBlue Central Fiction tournament, rather than tonight when they have the Guilty Gear XR tournament. I don't know why. That's a very odd choice that I do not understand in any way, shape, or form. But regardless, they announced a bunch of stuff. They announced Giovanna, who makes me very sad because she would be a day one main for me if that was a game that I intended to play. And the reason why I am talking about this is because I have had multiple people ever since I came out with that video. Like, after the beta, I just straight up said, like, this game doesn't interest me. What it is trying to do is not something I care about. It is not something I care for. So if I want to continue playing Guilty Gear, I'm just going to have to stick with XR, right? Because whatever Strive is going for, it doesn't interest me. But some people were like, because they had a lot of negative feedback after that beta. A lot of it. And so Daisuke came out and he said, okay, we hear you. We'll make some changes. And now they have officially announced the release date as, I think it was April 9th. It was April something. That's not that long away. It's at a point now where they cannot make any significant changes to the game anymore, right? So basically what you see in the gameplay footage that they showed off, they had some exhibitions. I didn't actually watch them. All I watched was the exhibition with, what's his name? I've already forgotten his name. Whatever. New, apparently, vampire ninja man and ninja samurai. Ninja use samurai swords, right? Vampire samurai boy. And the other player was using Faust, I believe, if I recall correctly. It's still the same game. It's still exactly the same as it was. I shouldn't say exactly the same. They have allegedly been adding more moves, but that's not my problem with it. You can add all the moves you want. Like, that is part of my problem, is that they definitely butchered a lot of characters' move lists, so that helps. But my problem with the game is the pacing, the overall game flow, the options that you have available to you on offense, on defense, all of it. None of that has changed. And none of that will change, regardless of how many moves you add. Because they are all going to continue to interact in the same way. The fundamental principles with which this battle system was built have not changed. And that's where the entirety of my problem lies, is with the fundamental system. So, push that out the door. They're clearly not changing it. It's, whatever. It happens. It kind of sucks because fighting games, I was going to do an entire Nate Talks about this, but I just decided against it because I felt like it was just kind of pointless. But how, there are no future fighting games for the next generation. Like, we have Guilty Gear Strive coming out, right? But that's built for the PS4. It's coming out on the PS5, but it's built for the PS4. It's exactly the same, I believe it's the same state the Guilty Gear XR Sign was, right? Where it was built for the PS3, but when it released, it came out for the PS3 and the PS4. Or was that Revelator? It's too long ago. Can't remember. Either way, this is not really a next generation fighting game, right? And we don't really have any other fighting games to look forward to right now, which is weird, right? We don't have any news about Street Fighter, nothing about another Tekken. All that we have for future fighting game news is a logo for King of Fighters 15 and a bunch of season passes, which they also have already announced a season pass for Guilty Gear Strive. The game's 6 months away from coming out and they're already announcing season passes. For fuck's sake, what are we doing? It makes the money. It undeniably makes the money. That's the reason, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle did they get 2 additional seasons of DLC or just 1 additional one on top? Because we all, same thing with BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Before the game was even out, we knew there was going to be a wave of DLC characters. But I can't remember, were there 3 total seasons of DLC characters or just 2 for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle? I can't remember. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. But they sold. They sold enough to continue making more DLC characters, to continue supporting the game, to try to get as much money out of you guys as possible. And now they're doing it again, and this is just the reality of fighting games now. As long as people continue buying these DLC characters, we're going to keep getting these season passes, and it sucks. And the main reason why it sucks is because another announcement they made 15 characters total, right? There are going to be 15 characters in the base roster. That's fine. I don't care. For a lot of people, 15 is too small. For me, I don't care. Quality over quantity. I'm down with it. I actually like the cast that they revealed so far. But the problem with this is that there's 15 characters in the main cast, right? 14 of them have been announced. They already have 5 that, let me pull this up. They already know. They know who's going to be in that, that 5 is going to be for the season pass. And out of all the characters, I wanted to pull up the popularity poll they did during the beta. Out of all the characters that are actually available, from the entire Japan list, Ramlethal is the only character currently in the base game. From North America, nobody. Oh no, Ramlethal's there again. Ramlethal is in there. From Asia, Ramlethal. Why is Ramlethal so popular? It's like Baiken too. Like Ramlethal and Baiken are winning all of these popularity polls. Nobody played them. Nobody's going to play them. They just want them because they're waifus and whatever. Yeah, but again, for Asia, Ramlethal, and wasn't there a second one in here? No, just Ramlethal. And for Europe, Ramlethal, and that's it. Out of all these popularities, I'm not going to actually look at exactly how many unique characters, but it looks like there's, Anji's in Japan as well. But there's probably around 16 to 18 unique characters in all of these in all of the popularity polls. And 3 of them, Anji, Ramlethal, and I've already forgotten the other one. Who was the other one? Shit, was there wait, there are only 2? Ramlethal, Anji. Am I bugging out? I could have sworn I saw a third one. I'm losing my fucking mind. No, yeah, there's only 2. Out of all these characters, only 2 of them are in the base game for their popularity poll. So, we know, I will bet good money that 5 of these characters are going to be featured in the DLC list. Wait. Was Anji's tease, is he the 14th character or the 15th? Whatever, who cares? I don't care. Point being, they are clearly holding the most popular characters hostage for DLC, so they make the maximum amount of money. Like, there's nothing else. There was no other purpose then, for these popularity polls. And what's really killing me, Slayer isn't in the base game? Slayer. That boy is iconic for Guilty Gear. Like, I don't think it's incorrect to say that he's definitely somewhat of a poster child for Guilty Gear. Like, pretty much everybody that ever has had anything to do with Guilty Gear knows who Slayer is. And you're not going to put him in the base game? Really? I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, so that's just this entire game is going to be a fucking mess. They didn't announce anything about what online is going to be like. They haven't talked about it. They specifically avoided it. The PC version, for some reason, if you pre-order a physical version, you get to play the game 3 days before release. But not if you do it on PC. Like, all of it, I just don't understand how anybody as a consumer can look at that shit and not be like, well, this is dumb. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I should not be supporting this. Gamers are notorious for just bending over and accepting whatever comes their way. Doesn't matter how hard the companies want to abuse them. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm still going to buy the game. It's insane. It bugs me so much. Okay, anyway, enough about Guilty Gears. That's all just negativity. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, right. So, I haven't been sleeping recently. It's actually a silly-ass reason. But, so, I'm very tall, right? Because of my height, generally beds are not made long enough for me. That's perfectly fine. I have pretty much always slept with my feet hanging off the end of the bed. I'm used to it. That's how I sleep. That's fine. But this bed that I have at university is the first time that I've ever had, like, a footboard on the bed. So, like, it's all symmetrical. there's a headboard and there's a footboard and they're the exact same thing. And they're not removable. I can't do anything with it. Maybe I should just take the mattress off of this and just throw it on the floor and sleep on that. Maybe that would work. Anyway, point being, I sleep with my legs straight. I've always slept with my legs straight. I can't physically sleep with my legs straight on this bed because my feet hit the board. So I have to like pull my legs in a little bit, and it's just so uncomfortable and it's not natural to me. So I have to get accustomed to it, but I haven't got accustomed to it yet, so I can't fall asleep unless I'm literally passing out. It's just such a weird thing. But anyway, so because of that, I haven't been sleeping. And because of that, I have been watching some Twitch streams I usually don't. One of those was Jayuna. I got to catch him creating his clickbait videos live. I mean, he even admits it, what it is. But one of those was about banning characters in fighting games, right? And it was because recently, after Belial's released, somebody tweeted that Belial was overpowered and that he should be banned. The person that tweeted that walked it back afterwards. So I'm not entirely sure why Jayuna decided to talk about it, because it wasn't like a widespread opinion. But either way, it led me to think, is there really an occasion where you should do this? And then my mind went to King of Fighters 13. For those of you that have been with me for a while, you know, I hold King of Fighters 13 in the highest regard. If its online was not complete and utter garbage, that probably would have become my most played fighting game of all time. I love it so much. But one thing that happened to it is something that happens to a lot of games. DLC characters got released for it, and they power crept the shit out of the rest of the cast. Now, King of Fighters 13 only had 3 DLC characters, but after those 3 got released, it was not rare in any way to see at least 2 of these characters on every tournament level player, high level players teams, which is insane. You get there's a cast. I don't know how big the cast is. Probably around 30 to 40 characters in King of Fighters 13. And in almost every single professional players, tournament players roster, 2 of them are dedicated to the DLC characters because they are just that much stronger than the rest of the cast. I honestly don't think that I'm over exaggerating by saying that those DLC characters borderline ruined that game on a competitive level, because they are so omnipresent now that it's just, at least to me, it's just boring, right? So there were 3 characters, Mr. Karate, EXKyo, and Flame Yori. Mr. Karate is basically played by everybody. You saw a lot of EXKyo and a decent amount of Flame Yori. And it just got boring. Character diversity, team comp diversity just disappeared after that. It was just gone instantly. So basically my point that I'm going for here, and I want to just say I don't believe in this in any way, shape, or form, but if those characters have been banned instead, if you basically just looked at that and said, these characters are picked too often, you can't pick these characters anymore. They're clear, okay, cool. It's so the Tales of series stopped putting Yuri in popularity polls because he was winning every popularity poll they put out. Everybody just voted for him. He was always number 1. So they basically just said, all right, here's a popularity poll. Yuri's not there because we know if he was, he would win. Now, who do you vote for if Yuri isn't there? Do the same thing with King of Fighters 13, right? Congratulations, Mr. Karate. You won. EXKyo, you won. Flame Yori, you won. You're overpowered. You're better than the rest of the cast. Get the fuck out of here. We'll just pretend like you got first place. And then, we can let the actual people, kind of play this and have fun, right? We can get some character diversity back up in this bitch. What if they did that? Similarly, there was one other example that I was thinking of. Oh, Tekken 7. That basically the last big tournament that happened in Tekken 7 was that top 8 after Leroy was released, where there were 6 Leroys. So what if the community at large just looked at that and said, all right, cool, good job, Leroy, you won. Fuck out of here. You can't play him anymore. Pick another character. What if that happened? The tournament would have undeniably been a better experience for pretty much everybody if they had just done that. So is there ever a cause? Because the problem here is that this is subject to bias, right? I think we've all seen, especially if you follow scrub quotes on Twitter. I don't, but I've still seen a decent amount of stuff from them. But basically, if you don't, it's just a compilation of a bunch of people saying some of the dumbest shit imaginable. And some of the takes on there really lead you to think, like, there are people out there whose brains function like that? Like, at that poor of a level? Really? Some of those people will inevitably be in charge of making decisions such as, should a character be banned in this tournament? And then they'll just go out and ban, like, for example, Giuna. Let's use him again. He just recently posted, because an Arakuni was at BBCF's, in the BBCF Arc Revo tournament, and he posted that he believes that Arakuni is one of the worst designed modern fighting game characters, and he hopes he never sees a character like that again. Now, I don't necessarily disagree that he's miserable to fight against, but is he ban worthy, right? After seeing that tweet, maybe Giuna would say yes, ban that character, he can never be in a tournament again. Personal biases, right? You can't really trust them. It's all subject to human fallibility, right? So, but if it wasn't that, if there was a clearly, like, agreed upon solid reason beyond, this character's just blatantly, like Kokonoe in BBCP before her nerf. She ruined BlazBlue. She genuinely ruined BlazBlue. I don't think anybody can viably argue against that fact. She and everybody was saying, we need to ban this character. Like, she's going to ruin tournaments, just like Leroy did. So people were discussing banning her. Is that justifiable? Should that be a thing? And honestly, for me personally, I'm kind of down with it. But again, who makes that decision? And how do you trust that that decision is made in good faith and not just somebody who's like, man, I fucking hate this character and I think they're boring, right? I don't know. That was just a bullshit topic. I don't think that you should ever actually be allowed to, but I do think, like, just again, the only reason I'm even talking about this, the only reason I'm even thinking about it is because of King of Fighters 13 and how it would be such a better viewer experience of Tournament King of Fighters 13 if those DLC characters didn't exist. Because they're just, everybody picks them, they're just everywhere. And that gets boring. You're just seeing the same characters over and over and over again. It gets boring, inevitably. I feel like that's one of the reasons why, like, Marvel, I don't think, if Marvel vs. Capcom 2 had come out in recent times with the level of balance that it had, it would not be held anywhere near in as high of a regard as it is. Because you would be, like, back then, streaming wasn't a thing. Like, if you wanted to watch Marvel vs. Capcom 2 stuff, you basically had Evo. And other than that, you had to just hope people would post random matches on, like, YouTube that they took from their camcorders and shit like that. You didn't really get to see a lot of footage. But if it was like it was now, where you have tournaments, not just on a monthly basis, damn near on a weekly basis, and every single week, all that you're seeing is just Sentinel, Storm, Magneto, Psylocke, Captain Commando, sometimes Cable, and you see nothing else, do you think that game would still be kind of considered a legend of fighting games? I think it would be. But I think because there wasn't as much of it to consume, it was more special. It was not quite as ruinous, because you're not just bombarded with this small portion of the cast. You can only see new matches every once in a while. Same thing with Third Strike. I guess Third Strike's kind of a different example, because there's, like, even when people knew how the tier list played out, there were still character specialists that would pick, like, the entire cast. Like, there are people in Japan who still play Third Strike, who still pick 12 for some reason. Says the person who still picks Tager after all these years for some reason. But it's a bit of a different situation, I think, for Third Strike than it is for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Because at least, like, with Third Strike, you can still win. Like, it's a fucking struggle. If you want to bring 12 in and try to fight against, like, Chun-Li or Yun or something, good luck. Have fun. but it's still nowhere near as bad as trying to use like 80% of the cast in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 up against, you know, a keep-away team like Storm, Sentinel, Captain Commando, or something like that. Good fucking luck. Like, it's basically a 9-1 matchup there. Even 12 doesn't have any, I don't think, even has any 1-9 matchups in Third Strike. But yeah, I don't know. That was just me bullshitting. I don't think there is any reason whatsoever to ban anything unless it actually breaks the game. And I do consider, like, Kokonoe, basically just you get one hit and you win. Like, there's no mix-up, there's nothing you can block, there's nothing you can do. If you got hit by Kokonoe prior to her nerf, she just killed you. And there were only, like, I think 5 characters in the cast who could do anything about it. And ironically enough, Tager was one of them. That was the game plan all along. I saw the future. I was a prophet. I knew my Tager knowledge would come in useful at some point. I never even fought against a Kokonoe with Tager. The only Kokonoe I ever fought against was I played with Azrael. And I got fucked up. But, yeah. I don't know. I'm done bullshitting. Let's be real. I was just here to take one last swing at Guilty Gear Guilty Gear Strive. And then I can go back down to my sewer and, you know, troll other stuff. Never to talk about Guilty Gear Strive again. I wish, it's just that thing that, like, I wish it was good. I wish it was going to be good. I don't want this to fail. I didn't want MvCI to fail. But they did. I kind of wonder if we're ever going to see another Marvel vs. Capcom. Because MvCI didn't just do poorly, it failed spectacularly on every single level. Like, public perception of it was pure shit. Anybody that was talking the game up was just laughed out of the building instantly by everybody. It sold terribly. Tournaments for it had nobody was watching it. Just everything about that game failed. And don't get me wrong, everything about that game fucking deserved to fail because it sucked in every way imaginable. And so that leads me to think, like, what if Marvel just saw that? And again, this is something that game companies are notorious for. They don't take responsibility for their own actions. They don't go like, oh yeah, that was, you know, we made some poor decisions in regard to who we let you use for the cast. We played it way too safe and we gave you the least interesting characters possible. And thus, the cast was fairly underwhelming and the public didn't appreciate that very much. We forced you to cut corners, maybe, possibly. I don't really know. I don't know who's responsible for the game's production values being as shit as they actually are. But whoever is, they need to take responsibility for that and understand that that was a huge reason why that game failed. But they won't. They'll just look at that and be like, oh, well, you know, fighting games. Nobody cares about fighting games these days. They don't sell. Let's just move on. Go back to our Square Enix Avengers. That probably sold well. Let me go look at this. The Avengers sales. Is there any, like, decent figure? Not the fucking movie. The Avengers game. Let's go with that. Marvel's Avengers video game. Only UK. Marvel's Avengers sold less than 1/3 of Spider-Man's sales in the UK. But I guess that doesn't include digital sales, as far as I could tell from that. Let's see. Sales. Avengers was the best-selling retail game during its first week on sale in the UK, yeah, but nothing else came out. PlayStation version sold 43,000 physical copies within its first week on sale in Japan, making it the second best-selling. I mean, that's Japan. I can't imagine Japan really gives that much of a shit about, like, American comic hero stuff. So that's not really worth it. So it doesn't include anything about, like, United States sales. Oh, most downloaded beta, but doesn't really count. Yeah, all that I can find is UK numbers. I can't find anything about the US. But so, like, did that succeed? I know it's kind of treated as a laughingstock by the community, but, like, there are a lot of games that have been treated like laughing stocks that still sell millions of copies. One of those being sports games in general. I'd buy sports games if if they weren't all lazy cash grabs. Like, I'd play a football game or a basketball game, but there's no real effort put into any of them. They all suck for the same reasons, and the yearly re-releases don't help. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I'm gonna leave. Thank you all for listening. Catch y'all later. Peace.